From our Chicago studios, this is the Muslim News on Muslim Network TV. Assalamu alaikum, I'm Samana Siddiqui. At Bill 2025, a Microsoft engineer accused the company of aiding Israel's genocide in Gaza, citing its cloud services for the Israeli military. This and more in today's show. The leaders of the UK, France, and Canada have issued a strong joint statement opposing Israel's expanding military operations in Gaza. They say the humanitarian crisis there is intolerable and Israel's limited aid entry is wholly inadequate. The leaders are urging Israel to halt the offensive and allow full humanitarian access in cooperation with the UN. They are also demanding the immediate release of all hostages held by Hamas since October 7, 2023. The joint statement slams Israel's denial of aid as a possible breach of international humanitarian law and condemns Israel's recent threats of forced displacement in Gaza. Forcible transfer is a crime against humanity in international law and punishable by the International Criminal Court. The three countries reaffirm Israel's right to self-defense, but say the current military actions are wholly disproportionate. They warn of further action, including sanctions, if Israel does not stop. The leaders also oppose illegal settlement expansion in the West Bank and back a two-state solution. The UK has paused trade deal negotiations with Israel. Foreign Secretary David Lammy said the Israeli ambassador was summoned over expansion of Israel's military operation in Gaza. The UK has also slapped sanctions on key West Bank settlers, including Danielle Weiss, leader of the Nakhala movement. Sanctions also target settler-linked companies like Libby Construction and illegal outposts such as Coco's Farm and Neria's Farm. The UK says these individuals and groups were involved in serious human rights abuses. France has backed a possible review of the EU-Israel Association Agreement over Israel's genocide in Gaza. Palestinian activist Mohsen Mahdawi graduated from Columbia University just weeks after being released from U.S. immigration detention. Mahdawi, a legal U.S. permanent resident, was arrested by Immigration and Customs Enforcement, or ICE, during a citizenship interview in April. He walked the graduation stage to loud cheers, wearing a traditional Palestinian keffiyeh scarf. Mahdawi earned a philosophy degree from Columbia School of General Studies and later joined a campus vigil holding a photo of his classmate Mahmoud Khalil, who remains in federal custody. Mahdawi told the crowd, "No power in this world will stop us from being human." His arrest followed new executive actions targeting foreign nationals accused of having hostile attitudes, including students involved in Free Palestine protests. A deportation request signed by Secretary of State Marco Rubio accused Mahdawi of making threats, but video evidence shows him denouncing anti-Semitic comments at protests. Mahdawi had no criminal convictions. However, he was targeted by pro-Israel groups, at least one of whom had bragged of giving the Trump administration a deportation list of pro-Palestine students. At Microsoft's Build 2025 event in Seattle, a company engineer publicly accused leadership of complicity in Israel's genocide in Gaza. Joe Lopez, a firmware engineer, interrupted CEO Satya Nadella's keynote speech, shouting that Microsoft's Azure cloud services are powering Israeli war crimes. Security escorted Lopez out, but he later emailed thousands of employees condemning Microsoft's ties with Israel's Ministry of Defense. He called internal reviews bold-faced lies. Lopez wrote, "I can no longer stay silent as Microsoft helps ethnic cleansing in Gaza." Microsoft has confirmed that it provides cloud and AI services to Israel's military, but claims its tools are not used to target civilians. 10 Palestinian prisoners who had been detained during its ongoing attacks in Gaza. Israel has kept all crossings into the region closed since March 2nd, deepening its humanitarian crisis. Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu's office said Sunday a basic quantity of food would be allowed in to prevent a hunger crisis. Israel has killed at least 87 Palestinians in airstrikes on Gaza since midnight. These include 22 people, many of them children, in an attack on a shelter housing Palestinians displaced by Israel's ongoing genocide in the region. Another 290 people have been injured in fresh Israeli attacks targeting residential areas and shelters across Gaza. In Shuja'iyah, an Israeli airstrike killed 3 children from the al-Suwaisi family. Israel killed more civilians in al-Saftawi and Deir al-Balah. Israeli drones also targeted ambulances from Al-Auda Hospital in northern Gaza. Meanwhile, Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu lashed out at Western leaders for threatening sanctions as Israel continues its military push to occupy Gaza and ethnically cleanse Palestinians from it. The UN has warned that up to 14,000 babies could die within 48 hours if aid remains blocked at the border. Israeli forces have killed more than 64,000 people in Gaza since October 7, 2023, the majority women, children, and the elderly, according to a study published by the medical journal The Lancet in January. Israel is also facing war crimes charges at the International Criminal Court and a genocide case at the International Court of Justice. Representative LaMonica McIver faces charges for allegedly assaulting officers during a protest at a Newark ICE center. She says the case is politically motivated. Details after the break, so stay tuned, and we'll be right back. A Congresswoman has been criminally charged after a scuffle at an immigration detention center in Newark, New Jersey. Interim U.S. Attorney Alina Habba announced charges against Representative LaMonica McIver for assaulting and interfering with law enforcement. They say the incident happened during a protest on May 9th outside Delaney Hall, an Immigration and Customs Enforcement or ICE facility. McIver was part of a group of Democratic officials who attempted to visit the center when tensions flared. Newark Mayor Ras Baraka was also arrested that day for trespassing, but his charges have now been dropped. Habba said McIver assaulted, impeded, and interfered with law enforcement and stressed that such actions won't be tolerated. McIver has dismissed the charges as politically motivated, saying she was carrying out her lawful oversight duties. Senate Democratic leader Chuck Schumer has introduced a bill to stop President Donald Trump from using a Qatari jet as Air Force One. The Presidential Airlift Security Act of 2025 would ban the Pentagon from using foreign-owned aircraft for presidential travel. Schumer warned that Trump's plan to accept a luxury Boeing 747-8 from Qatar poses a major national security risk. He said it would cost billions to secure the plane, and even then, safety could not be guaranteed. Trump called the jet a gift and said only a fool would reject it. A federal judge has ruled that the Trump administration's recent takeover of the U.S. Institute of Peace was illegal. Judge Beryl Howell declared the actions null and void, saying that President Donald Trump used brute force and threats to seize control of the independent institution. The U.S. Institute of Peace was founded by Congress and former President Ronald Reagan 40 years ago to promote peaceful conflict resolution abroad. It operates outside the executive branch and is not subject to presidential control. 2 months ago, Trump's team entered the Institute's headquarters, removed its leadership, and laid off most of its staff, moves Howell deemed unconstitutional. She said the president's authority does not extend to such removals and called the power grab a gross usurpation. Observers say the ruling is a major rebuke of executive overreach and a win for independent institutions. The U.S. has lost its last remaining top-tier credit rating. Moody's downgraded the U.S. long-term credit rating from AAA to AA1, citing high debt levels and growing budget deficits. This follows earlier downgrades by S&P in 2011 and Fitch in 2023. Moody's also shifted the U.S. outlook from negative to stable, but warned of worsening bond market conditions ahead. The U.S. federal deficit now exceeds $2 trillion, more than 6% of the GDP, with debt expected to rise further in the next decade. Experts say the downgrade could lead to higher bond yields, increased borrowing costs, and slower economic growth. Investors are already pulling away from the dollar, pushing up the euro by 8% this year. A new policy guide is calling on U.S. lawmakers to address key issues facing Black communities across the country. The Black Policy Playbook for an Equitable America was released by the Congressional Black Caucus Foundation and the Joint Center for Political and Economic Studies. It outlines legislative solutions in 7 areas. These include voting rights, education, housing, and tech equity. It calls for action on voter ID laws, affordable housing, education access, and fair use of AI in lending. The study warns the Trump administration is rolling back civil rights protections and cutting diversity programs from former President Joe Biden's era. The report stresses that fixing these issues will benefit all Americans, not just Black communities. Syria and Lebanon are working together to ease the suffering of Syrian prisoners in Lebanon's Rumiyah prison. Syria's Foreign Minister Assad al-Shaybani announced that he met Lebanese Prime Minister Nawaf Salam to discuss practical steps to resolve the issue. He said both sides agreed to move forward with solutions but did not reveal details. The development comes following the fall of Bashar al-Assad's regime last December in Syria and the appointment of Ahmad al-Shara as transitional president in January. Shaybani reaffirmed Syria's commitment to ending the plight of its nationals held in Lebanon. He stressed that despite the lasting effects of war, Syrians remain a top priority for his government. Rumiyah prison, located near Beirut, is Lebanon's largest detention center. It now holds approximately 4,000 inmates, 3 times its intended capacity. Many Syrian prisoners have been detained there for years without trial, drawing local and international criticism. The Islamic Development Bank has kicked off its 51st annual meeting in Algiers, Algeria. The 4-day event brings together delegates from 57 member countries. The meeting is themed Diversifying Economies, Enriching Lives. It aims to enhance development cooperation and knowledge sharing. Top decision makers, policymakers, and private sector leaders are discussing key issues such as Islamic finance, digital solutions for business growth, the halal economy, and inclusive development. Side events include the Youth Development Forum, Private Sector Forum, and the Global Forum on Islamic Finance. The Board of Governors is also marking its 50th session during the gathering, a milestone for the bank's mission to promote sustainable growth and Islamic finance. That's all from our Chicago studios tonight. Thank you for watching Muslim News. We are a community channel dedicated to bringing you stories you can trust. Please like, share, and subscribe to our content. You can also comment to let us know what you think of our coverage. Please donate now by visiting muslimnetwork.tv/donate. For more content, keep watching Muslim Network TV. Salam.